Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. For me, it's a distinct honor. Although I'm not a CU alumni, I have been buying tickets there since 1975, and I also have a soon-to-be senior there. I want to introduce to you today Coach Mel Tucker, who was named the 26th head coach at the University of Colorado in December of last year. He came to CU from the University of Georgia, where he spent the previous 3 years as the defensive coordinator for the Bulldogs. This is his first collegiate head coaching position. Born in Cleveland, Ohio, he is married to JoJo. They have 2 sons, one at Boulder High, and I believe another one at Monarch now. And they're 14 and 16. He's a 1995 graduate of the University of Wisconsin and a member of the first recruiting class of Coach Alvarez. I didn't know that. He was the Badgers' 1993 Big Ten championship team that defeated, thank you, UCLA in the Rose Bowl. He began his career at Michigan State for Coach Nick Saban as a graduate assistant and followed that with stints at Miami of Ohio, LSU, and Ohio State. He then went on to the NFL in 2005 with the Cleveland Browns. Then headed to the Jacksonville Jaguars, where he was named the interim head coach in the 2011 season. Following Jacksonville, he moved to Chicago in 2013, where he spent 2 seasons as the Bears defensive line coach. Am I correct? Defensive coordinator. That's up one. Okay. Coach restarted his college career where he began with Nick Saban. He spent the 2015 season at Alabama. He took over there as the defensive coordinator in 2016. He enjoyed at Georgia and hopefully in Colorado a tremendous run where he was instrumental in the Bulldogs compiling a 32-9 record, along with winning the school's first Southeastern Conference championship in 12 years, along with a Rose Bowl championship in 2017. My privilege, Coach Mel Tucker.
He told me good luck. Thanks for making me feel so good there. No. Hey, thanks for having me. I've just got a couple of questions I have to ask before I get started. How many CSU people are in here? Seriously, I just need to know, just for general purposes. All right. And do we have anyone from the media in here today? Okay, so how many people plan to ask me a question when we get done? No, seriously, raise your hand, because this is my first Rotary deal. Here, I'm looking at these papers. I didn't prepare anything. This is not my stuff. But this is my first Rotary deal. But what happens is when I speak at these deals, that any question that you ask me, I'm like really going to answer it. No, that's the benefit. As long as you promise me you won't post anything on the message boards, because that's how stuff gets started, right? But if you ask me a question, I'll give it to you straight. I'm going to talk to you about a couple things just because I know what you guys want to know. Because I kind of get around the state, and people ask me the same questions like over and over again. Like the first thing they want to know is like, how have you adjusted to the weather? Because they think that I'm like born and raised in Georgia, and I'm not. So I'm from Cleveland, Ohio, and so this weather here. Are you from Cleveland? Oh yeah, what part? Ooh, Chagrin Falls is nice. Very, yeah, very nice. But yeah, I mean, the weather here is like me living in Miami or something like that compared to Cleveland. Going to school in Wisconsin, just totally freezing all the time. Here, it snows. It looks pretty when it snows. The mountains look better. Everything's great. Then the next day, the snow is gone. That's what I've experienced since I've been here in December. So the weather has been great. No one on the West Coast knows anything about me because I spent all my time, listen to my resume, I spent all my time in the Midwest and the South, and I started reading the message boards when I became a coordinator in 2008 in the NFL because I just couldn't take it. But I did hear when I was hired here that people were like, Mel Tucker, they just hired a country music singer. And, so I already know that's what you guys are thinking, and that's all right. I mean, seriously, all my brothers got cool names. They named me after my dad. But, yeah, I was in Coach Alvarez's first recruiting class in 1990 at Wisconsin. We were 1-10 my freshman year. We were all sitting there in the dorms with communal showers saying, how the hell did they trick us into coming to Madison, Wisconsin? We're sitting in there. I'm from Cleveland, we're New Jersey, Chicago, St. Louis, guys from Florida, Georgia. We're like, what the heck is going on? I mean, we're 1-10. This is the worst football program in the history of football, and it's freezing up here, and people are fishing out on the ice. How do we get in this situation, But we were 1-10, then we were 5-6. Then the next year we were about to go to a bowl game. We were going to beat Northwestern. My roommate fumbled like on the goal line, going in like Ernest Biner. So we were 5-6 that year, and then we were able to go to the Rose Bowl and win the Rose Bowl. So that was a great experience for me because I was able to see Barry Alvarez, who had come from Notre Dame. I was able to see him build a program, and I was really a big part of that. I graduated in May of '95 with a business degree, and people also want to know, like, how did you end up at Wisconsin when you're from Cleveland, Ohio? Why didn't you go to Ohio State? Well, I didn't go to Ohio State because I ran a 4.65 40. When you run 4.4, when you run 4.4, you go to Ohio State. When you run 4.6, you go to Wisconsin. Okay, so that's how I ended up there. But I graduated with a business degree in '95. I got an ag business degree, in full disclosure. I kind of went home for a little bit. I was doing some coaching. I did some substitute teaching. I decided to get into college coaching at Michigan State with Coach Saban. Coach Saban actually recruited me when I was in high school. The first call I got from Nick was, hey, boy, how you doing? This is Nick Saban from the Houston Oilers. I was in high school at the time. I'm like, Houston Oilers, I know I'm a good player, but don't I have to go to school at least 3 years before I go to the league? And he burst my bubble and said, hey, I just got the head job at the University of Toledo where your dad played, and I'm recruiting you. So I've known Nick since I was like 16, 17 years old. And he gave me an opportunity to coach for him at Michigan State in 1997, 1998. As a graduate assistant. A graduate assistant basically is you're a GA, you're making about $400 a month for like 2 years, sleeping at your desk. I really didn't have a desk. I had like a little table. I took a towel from the locker room. I would roll it up, and I'll put it under my neck, and I would sleep there. Because, Nick would keep long hours back in the day. So anytime he walked in, I wanted him to see me. And when he left, I wanted him to see me. He never left, so I couldn't leave, But he helped me get ahead my first full-time coaching job at Miami of Ohio. I know there's someone in here from Miami, right? In Oxford, Miami of Ohio. I spent a season there. And then Nick, he left Michigan State and went to LSU. And he actually called me and offered me a job. Said, hey, I got a job for you down here at LSU. What do you think? And I told him, I said, I'll be there tonight. So I leave Oxford and I go down to Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I'm like the youngest assistant coach in the SEC. I have no idea what I'm doing. Nick like hates me, but I worked hard for him. We took the program, we turned it around. They were 3-7, like 3-8, 4-7 in 2 years before we got there. We go to a bowl game, and then I don't know if you guys remember Jim Tressel. Jim Tressel was at Youngstown State, and he got the head coaching job at Ohio State, and they called me and asked me if I wanted to pursue that and recruit my hometown of Cleveland, Ohio, which Michigan had kind of raided our backyard there. So I went to Ohio State with Coach Tressel, and we won the national championship my second year there. We went 14-0. We beat Miami in the Festival. They called us the Luck Eyes the entire year. Every game we won was on the last play of the game, including the national championship game. And from there, I went to the Cleveland Browns, my hometown team. I was able to go there, learn the 3-4 defense, coach in my hometown. We weren't very good, so I know what it's like to root for the hometown team. I know what it's like to coach for the hometown team, and I know what it's like to get run out of town by your hometown team. I mean, literally run out of town on a rail with a can up my you-know-what. And then I went to Jacksonville as the defensive coordinator. And then I went to the Chicago Bears as the defensive coordinator. Now, people say, well, what do you like better, college or pro? Well, I like them both, but I never intended to be in the NFL for 10 straight years. My plan was, what Nick Saban told me is, go to the NFL, become a better coach, come back to college. Well, after my third year in the NFL, they named me the defensive coordinator in Cleveland, the youngest coordinator in the history of the franchise. So next thing you know, the following year I interviewed for the Browns job. A couple years later, I interviewed for the Jacksonville job. I interviewed for the Wisconsin job. So I'm interviewing for all these head jobs. Next thing you know, it's 10 years goes by, and I said, what am I doing in the NFL? This is crazy. So I decided to get back into college football because, what I really liked about coaching was not just like on the field coaching or in the meetings, but I really liked the interaction with the players, getting to know their families, taking a kid that's like 17 years old, coaching them all the way up to a starting role and coaching them to the first round of the draft. I mean, I really enjoyed that, dealing with the high school coaches. In the NFL, there's none of that. It's strictly a business. And so Coach Saban needed some help. After the 2014 season, they lost to Ohio State in the playoffs pretty bad. Chicago still owed me 1 year on my contract, so I went to Tuscaloosa and coached for free, basically. And we won the national championship there. We beat Clemson, and then my kids weren't totally happy. I mean, anybody know where Lake Forest, Illinois is? You guys heard of Lake Forest? How about moving from Lake Forest, Illinois to Tuscaloosa, Alabama? My kids were like, do we need a passport to be down here? Like, what's going on down here, So I had to get them out. I got them out. So I told them that Georgia was located in Atlanta, which Athens, I told them Athens, it's a suburb of Atlanta. It's pretty much how I described it. Then once they got there, they realized with the traffic, it's like 3 hours away, you know what I mean? But it was a better situation for them. And I spent the last 3 seasons at Georgia. And we were able to play for the national championship in our second year there. So I have a pretty good idea of what it takes to turn programs around. And people always told me, they said, listen, Mel, you're going to get a head job, and you got to make sure that you just don't take any job. You got to make sure that you take the right job. And so people always ask me, well, why would you go from the NFL to Alabama to Georgia and then come all the way out here to Colorado, a place that it's only been to like one bowl game in 11 years? Well, when you think about that, it sounds pretty bad. I mean, what was I thinking, right? But I really did my research on this place, and I actually played a game here in college. I think we lost 53-14 or something like that when I came to play here. So I remember when I was in high school and I was in college, Colorado had the #1 football program in America for like 7 years. So Rick George and his people reached out to my agent about a week before the SEC championship game this past season. And as you guys know, football in the SEC is a religion. And when someone calls you the week of the SEC championship game, I mean, you don't even answer the phone. Like I don't even think I left the office ever, And my agent says, hey, Colorado wants to talk to you. They want to talk to you Wednesday. Well, this is like 2 days later, and it's like the Wednesday before the SEC championship game. And I said, listen, I love Colorado and I want to talk to them, but man, if we don't win this game, they might fire us all here. I mean, we got to win this game. Like, this is do or die down here. So we postponed it to the Sunday after the game. We postponed it for about 24 hours, and they came back and said, no, we got to do it Wednesday. And so I don't know how I did it, but I managed to prepare for an interview. Rick and Lance Carl, you guys know Lance Carl, I know you guys know Rick, but Rick and Lance Carl came to my house on a Wednesday. They were waiting for me in the driveway when I got home after practice, and we walk in, I introduce them to my family, my kids go in their room, my wife goes in their room, we already boarded the dog, so we didn't have an issue with that, and we sit down for like 5 hours and we just pound this thing out. We just hammer it out. And the reason why I chose CU is because, first, if you want to have a great program, you have to have facilities and you have to have tradition, okay? And they just put $160 million into the facility, which is as good or better than what we had at Georgia. As you walk closer, I'll know when to wind down. I see you. Yeah, I see you. Yeah, okay. No, he told me ahead of time. He said, hey, listen, when I start walking up there, just start wrapping it up. So, yeah. And so, and then the tradition, like we talked about, I mean, great tradition. Coach Mack built a great program here. It was one of the best programs in college football. And so I know you had that. But beyond that, you know, Rick George as an athletic director is a head coach's dream. Because how often do you get a chance to work with a guy or a gal who has been in those shoes? Do you guys know Rick used to be a coach? You know, Rick he was a recruiting coordinator for Colorado when they won a national championship. He's the guy that recruited all those players. And so as he talked to me about what he thought Colorado football should be about, it was in total alignment with what I thought that the football program should be. And his question to me was, do you think that we can win a national championship? And my question is, I'm saying back to him, like, why not? You tell me, give me a reason why we can't. And neither of us could sit there and think of any reason why we couldn't win a national championship. So that's why I decided to take the job. So we played a game on Saturday. We should have beat Alabama, who I hate, okay? We're not as bad as Nebraska, but or Michigan. I hope there's no blue bellies out there. I hate Michigan. It's so arrogant. You know, big egos. Okay, but anyway, so we were 3-1 against Michigan when I was at Ohio State, by the way. Okay, and so we play the game, we lose the game. Sunday, Phil DeStefano calls me, formally offers me the job. I take it, and then that Wednesday, you know, I come to Boulder. You guys might have seen the video of me walk through the facilities with my kids and saying, man, this is really better than even we thought it was. And then I had Thursday morning, I met with the players at 8. I had a press conference at 10. And before the press conference, you know, I meet with the players at 8. Okay, I know no one in Colorado, like no one. I know Rick and I know Lance Carl, that's it. So I go in there, I meet with the team, okay, so that goes decent. And then everyone starts to get nervous, you know, before my press conference. Because everybody's like, man, I like this guy. But he's going to probably screw up the press conference, right? So they put me in a room. And there's literally like 50 people packed into this conference room. And they're like really, really nervous. They said, well, Coach, you want to give you a little time so you can prepare some things? I said, no. Well, said, why aren't you gonna, you know, where you want us to look over what you're gonna say? I said, no, I'm good. I'll be okay. They said, well, Ralphie's a girl. Remember, Ralphie's a girl. And I'm like, I know that. You just told me that 20 times like 5 minutes ago. Like everyone keeps telling me that, you know. And they wanted me to write it down and I wouldn't. They kept looking. They were like handing me paper, pens, you know. So I had the press conference like at 10, and then that's on Thursday. And then Friday, the recruits roll in town. Can you believe that? Friday, we had a full recruiting weekend with the coaches that were already here. I had like 12 high school kids coming in with their parents, and I'm like, hey, come to see you. This is the best place in America to play football. We're going to win the championship. And we've been going like pretty much ever since. And so it's been a really good experience. People always ask me, what is the thing that has surprised you the most about CU? And I can really say there's nothing. The only thing that has surprised me about CU, other than the fact that I was confused because I'm trying to figure out, okay, CU, University of Colorado, like, how's that work? Like, and then they're telling me, well, it's KU, you know, with KU with the big 8 or whatever, and, you know, Missouri, you know, like everybody uses the U thing, and I'm like, I don't get that. And then I go look for our website, and it says, Run, Ralphie, Run. And I'm like, how's anybody going to find this? Because I'm confused. Like, what's our website? Is it CU Football or Run, Ralphie, Run? I can't, but we got that straight now. So, but the thing that surprised me the most is that there's so many things about CU that folks outside of CU have no idea about. You know, it's just like, it's kind of like no one wants to brag about it, but we all know that we have it. And so what I've done since I've been here is I've just kind of been out there loud, telling everybody that CU is a great place and then promoting it the heck out of it and everything. And it's really, I mean, I think we've got probably a third-rated class in the Pac-12 so far in recruiting, and I mean, we're really just now getting going. People come here, they love the place, the parents love it. I say, hey, listen, you don't have to worry about your son getting shot here. They don't do homicides here, you know. And they look around and say, well, where's the hood? Like, I was like, there is no hood here. Like, we don't do hood here, you know. So, like, I sell safety. I sell safety to the moms. I sell safety, I do. I sell safety to the moms. The air, I tell them we have special air. And then when they walk up the stairs in the facility and they can barely breathe, then I say, altitude. But at first I kind of make them think that we have a special air here. And then the mountains, people are going crazy over the mountains that they haven't seen them before. And it's really weird because I have the best view in Boulder on the 4th floor of the Champion Center. Well, Rick George is above me. He says he has a better view, but I have the best view because I'm the head coach, right? So I'm looking, and I walk him in my office, and I say, hey, look at my office. I walk the players and the prospects and their parents, their families in this. I said, look, I got the best view in Boulder. I can actually open the windows up in my office, and it has the stadium, and then the Flatirons behind it, and people just stare, and they just kind of look at me. And and then they kind of they want to know, like, what's the trick? Like, what's the catch? Like, what's going on here? And they think that I just put those mountains up for the weekend and I'm going to take them down when they leave. You know, I'm like, that's really out there. Like, that is real. And I've had several people say, hey, what's wrong with this? There's got to be something wrong. What are you guys trying to hide? I said, I'm not trying to hide. We're not trying to hide anything. You just never been here, and the team hasn't really won. You haven't been paying attention, but we got a heck of a deal going here. So I think we got 12 kids committed already for the 2020 class, and we're recruiting like crazy every day. And so everything is worked out. I got a house. People want to know, hey, how long are you going to be here? So the first thing we know is, did you buy a house? If I tell them that I rented a house, then, I mean, that's a bad deal, right? So I ponied up. I got a house. I had to move a little bit further out. Like, I have a Boulder address, but it's really like Lafayette, you know what I'm saying? But they're like, do you live in Boulder? Oh, yeah, I live in Boulder. Oh, yeah. But I'm not, like, down in Boulder, you know. So, because the cost of living is a little steep, right? And I can't complain, because it's not like I can't afford to buy a house now. But anyway, but everything's been great. The kids are in school. The dogs are here. Mother-in-law's here. My wife's here. Everybody's good. And we just have our kids in summer school right now, and we're running them and lifting them to get them ready for fall camp, which will be at the end of July, and then we'll get ready to play the schedule. Everybody wants to know, well, how many games are you going to win? I don't know. I mean, that's why I asked if the media was in here. If I guarantee we go undefeated, I mean, you guys might clap, but you'd be like, this guy's crazy. Like, he's like, how's he going to go undefeated? They're not even that good. So, I mean, I don't know how many games we're going to win, but I know this, that when you watch us play, you'll see a different brand of football out there. And we will play defense. I believe in playing defense. We will use a tight end. I just got a commitment from another tight end, so we'll have a couple on the roster that we didn't have when I got here. And, I mean, the goal is to win every game on the schedule. I'm not sure if there's a team on there that I look and say, I don't think we can beat those guys, you know. And people keep telling me that Nebraska's got us, like, they got us circled on their schedule. I'm like, well, they should. They should have us circled. I mean, what have they done in the last year? No, seriously. I mean, what has Nebraska? Like, players ask me, I say, who are you considering? They say, oh, Nebraska. I'm like, Nebraska? Okay. I mean, like, why? And why is it? It's a rivalry, yeah, but they're just another. And like, the team that I really want to circle is USC. And I'll tell you why. I've been told we're like 0-12 versus USC in football. Is that true? How is that possible? Can't you just stumble into a win one year? Just stumble right into, well, oh my God, we won. We can't have a 12-time 0-12, you know, so that's the game that I'm circling, you know. They said, well, Coach Mack just called him out. I haven't called him out yet because it's different now. I mean, it would go viral, right, on Twitter, and then, you know, it'd be a problem. But I'm calling him out, all right? So Nebraska, I don't know why they put Air Force on our schedule. I had to invest like $6,000 in knee braces for my D linemen. You guys know about the wishbone offense, but we got a great home schedule. They say ticket sales are up, merchandise sales are up, everyone's excited, So all I got to do now is just win some games. I mean, that's just not too hard, right? So I wanted to open it up for questions because now if you ask me a question, then I will give you the straight up answer, not what I would give like Brian Howell or something for the newspaper or whatever. I'll give you the real deal. All right,
Are your children as excited about this move as you are?
Excuse me?
Are your children
They are.
excited about this move as you are?
Yeah, the question was, are my children fired up to come here as fired up as I am? Yeah. Well, I asked those guys first. That was the first thing I did when I found out about this. I asked them, because I told them once we moved to Georgia that I wouldn't move them until they graduate from high school. And so when this comes up, I'm like, God, man, they still got a couple years to go. So I went to both of those kids, and they did their research. The oldest boy loves soccer, but he's like a film, like he likes film and the graphics and stuff. And so we have a great school for that, and it's closer to LA for him. So in his mind, we're in the West Coast, right? And then my youngest boy is he plays football, but he's a lacrosse goalie, and lacrosse is huge here. And so when I came home from work, like on Tuesday before the interview, he had on his phone the dates of all of the lacrosse tryouts for the travel teams. And so I came here on Wednesday, press conference on Thursday. Friday and Saturday, he borrowed someone's equipment. He tried out for Denver Elite while that first weekend he made the team. So yeah, the kids are fired up. Yeah, it's good. Yeah. How do you assess the talent of this team that you've inherited? How do I assess the talent of the team? Yeah. We're not as talented as we need to be, as I would like to be. We're not as talented as we were like at, Alabama or Georgia. But, I mean, Rome wasn't built in a day. You have to actually build a roster. There's a reason why I'm here, right? So typically when you get a head coaching job, you typically don't go into a great situation. Usually there's been some issues with the program. They decided to make a change because it was underperforming or whatever. And so obviously we have some talent here, but we don't have as much as we need to compete year in and year out for championships. And I tell people, we're building the team to beat Alabama, Georgia, Clemson, Oklahoma, Ohio State, because there's nothing worse than getting to a national championship game, which I know about, and losing. So you want to build a team so that when you get into the playoffs, you can actually win the damn game, and you know what I mean. And so you can't even necessarily build it just for the Pac-12. You have to build it for those teams that you're gonna have to play, once or twice to win the whole thing. So, but we have more talent on offense right now than we have on defense. Our receiving core is as good as we had at Georgia. Offensive line needs some work. They're going to play hard this year, but we have to get bigger. Our O-line's kind of small. We have good running backs. We have 4 scholarship quarterbacks, and I like Montez. Just have to work on his decision making. And then, our D-line, we're very thin. Yeah, if you throw the ball to the other team, you're just standing there watching the game with me. I'm not going to let you play. But I think he's going to be a good player. Defensive line, we need depth, but we do have some guys. Linebacker core is going to be solid. The secondary is probably our weakest position. But I'm a secondary coach, so I feel like I could smoke and mirror the thing for at least a season before we can get. It'll take half a season before people they're like not really good back there. I don't know how. Yeah, right there.
What are you going to do to protect their brains?
Protect
Protect their heads, protect their brains.
Oh, well, I'm glad you brought that up because that's been a huge topic for me since I've been here. But it's really been a huge topic of discussion probably going back to about 2006, 2007. When I got to the NFL, a couple years in, some of the results from the concussion studies from the NFL started to come out, but they weren't necessarily all released. But someone at the NFL level with the studies, they knew that there might be a correlation between like the CTE and football and head trauma and all those types of things, suicide. And so they didn't say it was for certain, but there may be some issues there. So what happens when you're in the NFL, when they want to make some changes, like they do a really good job of making just sweeping changes, like directives, and this is how we coach tackling. This is the wording that we use. Like we never use like put your hat on a guy or put your face in there, or the whole thing was to take the head out of the game. So we really started to, we were told that we had to rethink how we were teaching contact, block protection, tackling. And then you see all the rules started to come into play with targeting, not hitting players, from the neck, the shoulder, above, kicking players out of games and suspending games and fining players for certain types of hits, which back in the day was never like that. And then the concussion protocol, where if there's a doctor on the sideline, a teammate, a coach, someone in the press box, every game they see someone that looks like they might even have maybe even a slight concussion, they pull them out of the game and put them in concussion protocol. And so all those things were designed to make the game safer. And so I feel very confident that we have best practices in terms of teaching tackling, block protection, things like that, keeping our head out of the game. We have, top-notch equipment. We have concussion testing, baseline testing when the kids get in. And then if they do happen to get a concussion, it's up to the doctors to decide when they come back. And it's based upon what their baseline scores were before a concussion, then they have to return to those levels after the deal. So what we're trying to do now is you have to compare people that play football to people who don't play football to get the actual deal, okay? And then we're still getting information. I think where we got into a little bit of trouble is I think the NFL did a great job changing some rules, and then it trickles down to college. But I think people feel like the NFL has information that they're not divulging. And so therefore, there's not as much credibility to say, well, those guys know what's going on, but they're not saying anything. So now this builds a little bit of resentment and doubt. And some of the studies that they're doing now, we won't even know for another 25 years. So it's just really, I coached 10 years in the NFL. I played football. There's lots of issues, that can contribute to like suicide and things like that. There's a really high rate of suicide, divorce, and bankruptcy for former NFL players. There's a whole big thing about how do you adjust from being a football player in that whole lifestyle to not having it at all. And that's a huge adjustment for a lot of players. And sometimes, people marry them because they have money or because they're famous or whatever. They have no real job experience when they're done playing. Some of these guys play 5-6 years in the league. That's, they're 26 years old, 27, no job experience, and they can't make the type of money in the real world that they can make playing football, even at a minimum base. So there's a lot of issues there. I try to talk to my players on a daily basis about what the NFL really is all about, and why if they can play in the NFL, it's great, but don't count on that and don't think that that's the end-all be-all, because the NFL is not what everybody thinks it is. And I talk to the players about make sure that football is what you do, it's not who you are, and that's a concept that the young guys, they really need to understand. So say, for instance, you identify yourself as a football player. Your parents introduce you as a football player. Your coach, hey, here's one of my star players. That's pretty. And then you're on a college campus. You probably wouldn't be able to get in school maybe if you weren't a football player. So you identify as a football player, and then what happens if you blow your knee out and then you can't play for a semester, for a season? Then how do you feel about yourself as a person? And what happens is a lot of players, they feel like they don't have a worth because they can't play. So just imagine how this year after year after year, then at some point, someone's going to tell you that you can't play football anymore. And then where are you at that point? So there's a high rate of suicide, depression, bankruptcy, divorce with former players. Some of it may be CTE, we don't know that for certain. Some of it may be just, how do I adjust the life after football. You know, so I appreciate the question.
Coach, thank you very much for coming.
Okay.
Your very, very busy schedule. I have to say that it sounds like when you first got here, you had a lot of fun being introduced to the Boulder area. Now, I'm also not a grad of CU, although my wife got her master's there a few years ago.
Never too late.
Never too late. Anyway, I wanted to say with the experience, background, hard work, intelligence, that's what gives you good luck. Good luck, Coach.
Thank you. I appreciate that. There was
I almost forgot. In your honor, Boulder Rotary Club is pleased to contribute 100 doses of vaccine to the Polio Plus Fund. Wipe out polio is what we're trying to do. Thank you.
all right. Thank you.